Hi, my name is Sage and welcome to my YouTube channel. And this is a sketch that I did on Procreate to show you what my vision is for this week. I want to make a paper mache lily of the valley, but make the little bells that are lilies, I want to make them little ghosts, and I want to make them out of clay. So in order to do that, I'm going to need a base and some tin foil. So for the tin foil, I did fold it into hot dog style, and then I bend it into a candy cane shape to make the stem of the lily of the valley. And then I continually add more and more tinfoil to the stem to bulk it up. I'm also taking into consideration the balance aspect too, because I want it to be able to stand up on its own. Even though I will be gluing it later, I just thought that this would be an important part as well. And I keep the base in frame too, as I'm eyeballing how big I want the stem to be in relation to the base. I then decide to fold some tinfoil hot dog style to add to the hook of the stem, just to make sure that I have enough room for all the lily ghosts that I will be adding later. And to connect the two tinfoil pieces, I do just smush them together and cut off the excess. And then I do add a bit more tinfoil just to bulk everything up again to make it go from thick to skinny more gradual. And then I start to smooth the tinfoil with a popsicle stick, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to be paper macheing over this part. I want to try and get all the crinkles out, just so that the paper mache has a better chance of laying flat. But then I realized I was not happy, and I ended up adding even more tinfoil again, and then I also smoothed that out as well until I got what I was going for. I'm just very indecisive, but that's the fun thing about art. You can do whatever you want to your creations. And this is the end result for the tinfoil. And now I'm on to hot gluing any of the tinfoil that isn't completely smushed down. And I will say this, hot glue and tinfoil can get really hot, so if you do this, beware of burnt fingers. And now I'm adding some wire so I can then attach the little ghosties. And all I'm doing is just wrapping it around the top part and then cutting it at the bottom at whatever length I want. And then I do that 4 times. And this is the end result. The tinfoil is completely smoothed and the wires are attached. So now it's time for the paper mache. Pause if you want the paper mache recipe. And now I'm paper macheing. And I only do 1 layer. The stem is so small and I figured I could get away with it. And turns out it was a good idea because I really wanted to retain the skinniness at the top curve of the stem. And one thing that I'm learning with the paper mache is that less is more, and to not just put on a bunch of the goop on at the same time. Just do like really thin layers and everything seems to work a lot better. And now I'm leaving it to dry overnight, just so it dries all the way through thoroughly. And I went on a hunt to try and find dollar store clay this week, and all the dollar stores were out, so I ended up getting a pound of Sculpey oven baked clay. And now I'm making a small ball out of tin foil to be in the middle of the ghosty flower. And then I flatten out some clay and then I roll it into a sphere with the tin foil inside, before then putting the clay on a popsicle stick and then pushing the clay with my fingers to make the petals slash ghosty wispies. And then I flatten out another piece of clay and put it on top just to bulk up the little ghosty guy a little bit. And then I pinch each of the wispies and make them upturned just to give them like that little like ghosty slash petal feel. And then I do this another 6 times for a grand total of 7. And this is them completely baked as well. It took 30 minutes in the oven for these guys. And even though these guys are super pale to begin with, I did want to paint them a stark white to give them a ghostly feel. And in total, I ended up painting them with a whole 8 layers of paint on the top. And the reason why was, again, I just really wanted to drive home that they're white little ghosties. And on the bottom, I ended up painting them with a grand total of 3 layers, just because you don't really see the bottoms anyway, but I still wanted them to be white. And this is the first layer after it dried. And this was them after a full 8 layers of paint, and as you can tell, there is a big difference. It may have took a long time, but I got there and I'm happy. And now that the paper mache for the stem is completely dried, I can start painting the stem green. And one thing about paper mache is that it really absorbs the paint, which is nice because it absorbs the color. And I also paint the wires green too because it makes sense in my brain. Oh, and I also go over with 2 layers of green paint. And this is the end result. I think he looks green and wonderful. So then I move on to painting the base. And I'm painting the base with a brown, and it's a really nice like rich brown just to bring out some earthy tones, and I'm using a fan brush to do so. Then once the base is dried, I then glued the bottom of the stem with some Gorilla Glue and push that onto the base. And now that the stem is completely adhered to the base, it's now time to paint the little ghosty guys and give them some eyes. And as you can tell, it's just 2 little dollops for the eyes, and then I do them all. And now the ghosty guys are completely painted, and I'm gonna wait for the eyes to dry. And now it's time to add some moss. And to do this, I use the glue gun, and I only do around the stem for right now. I'm only worried about this part because I'm waiting for the ghosty eyes to completely dry before I start putting them on. And to adhere the moss, I'm literally just gluing the base and then pressing some moss into the glue and going from there. And now that the eyes are completely dried, I take the Gorilla Glue and do a little dollop on the tops of their heads and then poke them into the wire, and they set. And one of the things that I learned is less is more, so always go with like a smaller dollop, because if you do like the bigger ones, they have a better chance of falling off. And they definitely did that to me. Off screen, these guys probably fell off like in a grand total of 10 times, but I did get them glued eventually. And then I noticed one of the wires needs a little bit more green, so I did a touch up of that. And then I complete the bottom layer of the base by hot gluing the moss down on the entirety of the circle. One really good thing about the moss too is that it typically comes in clumps, so if you glue one clump down, it's gonna adhere and stay there, which is really nice. And now I'm just freehand placing the little ghosties just to see where I like them. And then I hot glue each and every individual one. I didn't use the Gorilla Glue because I felt like that would overdo it, and the hot glue gun definitely did its job. And now once they're all glued down, I go to the last and final step. So I got a dollar store vine, and off screen I'm cutting little spriggets and then hot gluing them down and making them push through the moss just to make it look just a little bit more earthy and kind. And I just keep adding them until I'm satisfied. And these are all the spriggets glued down, and I'm completely done. So now it's on to the glamour shots. Also, thank you so much for watching.